Welcome to the Morning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scant. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll eventually get to our NFL's Week 2 preview and provide our locks of the week. We'll also talk about the now once again struggling Kansas City Royals as they continue to go just back and forth all over the place in wild swings. Back on the downswing right now, unfortunately. And we'll also talk about the NFL's Week 1 recap from just this last weekend, the opening weekend for all the NFL games. We'll start today with our Kansas City Chiefs. Not a great opening day, Friday night in Brazil. They took a loss to the Chargers. Relatively close game though. Maybe more importantly, already having Rashee Rice out, but now Worthy is going to be potentially missing some time with an injury on early in the game. Mike, are you okay with the Chiefs opening weekend performance? Or do you think the injury to Worthy and maybe some other things that we saw are more telling for that we're in for a longer season this year?
Um, it's hard to say. It's one game. It wasn't the best game. I'd say they didn't play very well, and the defense didn't look so great. Uh,
Yeah,
but still, the Chiefs were in it at the end, and they could have had a chance to win had they stopped Justin Herbert on third and long. The Chiefs would have had the ball, but the Worthy injury seems like it really hampered them in terms of their game plan. It seemed like they had a lot of stuff going through Worthy. Although they kind of had a stupid opening drive as they usually do, like two running plays up the middle, and then uh,
yeah,
third down, third and long. Let's make Mahomes be the hero, uh,
right.
which
Well,
is
a
what
lot of running really for Mahomes to get things going,
yeah
right? Again,
yeah. Mahomes is he had almost 60 yards rushing, several first downs. This was one of his best rushing games, I think, in the regular season for sure.
right.
Um,
Non-playoff performance, yeah.
Yeah, and he made some amazing passes at the end. A couple of them, one, kind of when he's parallel to the ground, flipping it up to
Right.
Juju, and then that long pass to Hollywood Brown on the rollout that looked a little bit like that. Remember the Baltimore Ravens game where uh, Mahomes on the like fourth and nine or whatever found Tyreek Hill uh,
Mm,
down the field. It looked a little bit like that throw to
yeah.
me. But and you would have thought maybe Hollywood Brown would score on that one, but he ended up not. It looked like he was kind of waiting for the runner to run past him rather than just maybe run as fast as he could to the end zone.
Yeah.
Um, but that ended up costing
Yeah.
them making a field goal instead of um, a touchdown. But yeah, there's some other good highlights. Bucker made that amazing fire drill, 59-yard field goal.
Yep.
Of course, then he missed the extra point, and the Chiefs were chasing that point the entire second half, which probably cost them about 2 or 3 points um, total. So maybe, but then, the Chiefs still would have lost, but like they would have been maybe only needing a field goal at the end of the game rather than a touchdown at the end of the game to win. Uh,
Yeah.
but
We're
yeah,
kind of
Mahomes,
more settling for field goals again early though, too, like we've
yeah,
seen in the past.
yeah, Mahomes. I thought played his best regular season game in a little while. He didn't have a lot of like near interceptions, which he's had recently. He made really good throws most of the time, even with Kelsey not doing a whole lot either. He,
Yeah.
he had a touchdown at the end, but there wasn't a Kelsey was invisible most of the game.
Yeah.
Tight ends were just no. There's no Noah Gray really either. I think he was targeted once that I remember on that 2 point conversion, but
Mhm.
yeah, the Chiefs
He had
they
a
still
one catch for 3 yards on one target.
graded. Okay,
No great, yeah.
okay. Um, but yeah, it was yeah. I think losing Worthy really hurt, and it's gonna hurt because he's gonna be gone probably at least a couple more weeks, I would say. Uh,
I think the early report somehow says he's just day to day, but that seems unlikely because they also said it was his like separated shoulder, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. So usually
Or
that's usually
dislocated shoulder, whichever.
I think they're the same thing.
Whichever version of it they want to choose to
Yeah.
use at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah.
But yeah,
Theory one is more severe than the other, but
without Rasheed Rice, I think missing Worthy is missing one of those two wouldn't be, isn't the end of the world. But missing both of them, I think really hurts the wide receiver uh, depth.
in some ways it's, maybe okay. Like maybe you get to see a little bit more from some of the players that wouldn't have gotten much playing time. Like, is Thornton or Brownlee like a decent, guy to throw in there on certain plays? Like, can you trust him or not? But
Yeah, yeah,
we'll definitely get to evaluate that during the next couple of weeks. But yeah, knowing what happened in week one, then with Worthy, do you think the Chiefs would now go back and have Rasheed Rice not accept the the 6 game suspension and go ahead and go through with the arbitration that was scheduled for after week four, and then at least have him for the first couple of weeks, and then while Worthy's hurt, and then they could both play together after
hmm
Rasheed Rice comes back like week 13 or something.
Well, if they had known, I guess that Worthy was going to
Right.
get hurt in the first game, maybe you would do that. It seems like the Chiefs also have a tough beginning of the schedule and maybe less tough end of the schedule. So maybe missing
Yeah.
having Rice early would be better. Because now the Chiefs, it's very possible they're going to go 0-2 because they're playing the Eagles um, next week, and we're not talking
Yeah.
about uh, Don Henley's Eagles. We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, who are much more physical and much less geriatric than
Right.
the Eagles, who some of whom have already died. But
Yes.
when you think of the Eagles, do you think of the Philadelphia Eagles first, or do you think of the band, the Eagles first?
Honestly, I think I do think of the band the Eagles, but in the context of Big Lebowski's, when he asked him to change the station because he doesn't want to listen to the Eagles because he
Eagles.
hates the Eagles.
Yeah, he wants to
But
listen to some Credence.
I think of that line, which I won't say here because
Yeah,
there's a swear word in there, I guess.
yeah, we're a very family
But
friendly show here at the Power Hour.
I don't want to have to go back and,
We don't
and
want our
beep it
legions
out
of
in
we don't want our
post.
legions of kid fans to be disillusioned
Exactly.
by you say it ain't so, Dr. Scaff. They'll say they're all going to curse now going to school, and it's going to cause a nationwide
Right. That's right. Maybe like
panic and yeah,
I learned it from watching the Warning Track Power Hour. That's just the
yeah,
thing people are going to say.
people are going to say um, yeah, we're real hip with the kids with our uh,
Our
especially when
youthful takes
our
on
youth will take some things our old timey especially when we start talking about old timey baseball. I think that's really when the kids are
weights and measures or
yeah.
units of distance measurements. Yes.
Yes. Yes. We don't have a whole lot of that today, but probably. But yeah, so the Chiefs.
We don't know. We don't know where this is going to go.
Speaking of, I guess, measurements, we can, I guess, talk about how we can be segue into our locks of the week. Since my first lock of the week was having the Chiefs, they're favored by, I believe, 3 points
Yes.
in Sao Paulo, but they lost by 6 points. So that was a incorrect pick by me. It looked like it was going to be wrong basically from the get-go when the Chiefs were down, at the very beginning of the game, after, allowing the Chargers to go up 10 right at the beginning. So, and this was I think the first Chiefs loss in a one possession game for over a year. Uh,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
I think since that Christmas Day game against the Raiders, I think they've won every one possession uh, game they played. So 27-20. It was a close game. Herbert had a really good game. It seemed like Herbert had a lot of time to throw, so the defense didn't play very well in terms of like his pass rush. Tranquil got a couple of sacks, but like seems like Herbert, had all the time in the world back there, and Mahomes was kind of scrambling as usual. I don't know if he had, um, it wasn't like he was getting sacked a ton, but he didn't, you know, the plays weren't easy for him like it seemed like they were sometimes for the Chargers. And
Yeah.
the Chiefs offense seems to be kind of like they're pulling teeth. It's very difficult sledding, and I don't know if that's a Nagy problem or just that the Reed offense has kind of gotten a little stale. Um,
Well, we're kind of a tale of two halves, though. The second half, the offense looked a lot sharper because they went back to the sort of like quick strike sort of offense. They were moving the ball much better in the second half than they did in the first, anyway. So, there's a chance that maybe, if they can figure out what they did in the second half and try to replicate that and just ignore what happened in the first, just get rid of whatever that game plan was, just get rid of it
yeah,
and don't go back to that.
I think they need to realize that their running backs aren't also going to be that useful this year unless it's some sort of a change of pace because I don't think they'll be able to establish the run because Pacheco had a couple of decent runs, but he's not somebody who you can kind of feed the ball to every down.
They're not a
Unlike,
grind type offense, right? Like
yeah, unlike say
it's using the run to establish the pass is not the Chiefs style. It's
that's
maybe
what they
the other
tried
way
to do
around, right?
early on, but yeah, it should have been
Yeah.
just the opposite, I think. But
That's probably what they should do, right? Is use the short, quick passing, quick strike sort of offense to allow the run to be there, right?
yeah, and basically the running offense was Mahomes this week, so. uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean, Pacheco only had 5 carries,
really.
5 carries, 25 yards. And 5 yards a carry is not bad, but only 5 carries. It's not really that
Yeah,
meaningful
and they
statistically.
were and the Chiefs were down far enough they were down, so they were kind of playing catch up at the end. But
Yeah. But
yeah,
Hollywood Brown looked good as a whole. 10 catches,
yeah,
99 yards.
mostly short except the long one at the end. So they were really short catches. The first nine, I guess, were probably only for 50 yards or so, uh,
Yeah.
5 or 6 yards a catch. So not a ton. Juju made a couple of nice plays,
Yeah.
but Thornton had a one catch.
2 catches, 41 yards,
One was a long one, maybe one short one. Um,
38, 138, 1-3.
yeah.
Yes.
So, it was a mixed bag. They played a good team who really was up for beating the Chiefs in week one. I think if there's a team that's as good as the Chiefs are early in the season, it's Jim Harbaugh teams. His
Hmm.
teams I think he was undefeated in week one going into the Chiefs
Well,
game.
it sounded like they had some input on who their opponent was. Like they knew they were going to be playing in Brazil for that week one, and it sounded like they had some input with the league as to who their opponent was,
Maybe they
and
had more
they
time to prepare than the.
they specifically chose. They asked for the Chiefs to be their week one opponent.
Hmm.
Then, so that they thought maybe they could catch the Chiefs off guard potentially, and be more prepared for them than the Chiefs were prepared for that for the Chargers. Maybe something like that. A little bit of gamesmanship between the two organizations played out possibly. Maybe the Chiefs fans travel well to LA. They take that away as a
Yeah.
possibility. If they're gonna travel to Brazil, like you can't stop them, I guess. Uh, but it's a totally different dynamic and being in
Yeah.
another country that's not very close to
And
the US.
the Chargers travel maybe was better to Brazil because they went a day earlier than the Chiefs did. The Chiefs kind of came in late. I think they should. I don't. I would rather have them train most of the time in Brazil rather than staying in Kansas City
Mm,
for the last moment and then going to Brazil. I think getting
yeah,
out. I don't know. The Chiefs seem to travel late a lot, which I think maybe doesn't help in big games. I think,
especially when it's a long travel
yeah, yeah.
situation too, like this.
It wasn't like a time zone difference, but it was something that maybe again, just getting used to the weather, getting used to the atmosphere, being, not just like, oh, we're in Brazil now, let's look around and then suddenly we're playing a game. I think being there a couple of days maybe would have helped. Um,
Acclimate a bit.
Even if it was maybe a disruption of a regular ske schedule, because it wasn't a regular game, so you had to have a different kind of
Yeah.
approach to it. So
Well, do you think the league schedule has an effect on this too? Like, or do you think in the way that they're doing the preseason now, like, the Chiefs don't really play most of their starters for one entire game. They play maybe a quarter of the other two games, and then they have a week off.
yeah,
Do you think that that has an effect on how prepared? I mean, both teams have the same situation, but do you think maybe the Chiefs are not? They're a long term plan. They're not. They don't. They're there for the whole season. They're planning on making a deep run. That's their mentality. It seems like so maybe they're not as geared up for a week one
yeah.
matchup, especially with that downtime leading into week one. There's definitely not any you know, flow yet to the season at that point, especially when there's a week off between the final preseason game and the first week of the season.
Yeah, and when your best receiver gets hurt like in the first play, that changes things. And I think again, maybe the Chiefs would have won had Worthy's been there the whole game. It would have been another target to throw to. And Mahomes still had a pretty good passing, like we said, pretty good passing game without. And then maybe Kelsey would have had a better game too because the Chargers wouldn't have been able to maybe key in on Kelsey and then make Mahomes beat him with the wide receivers that were kind of depleted. Um,
Yeah,
so, but anyway, I missed that game. It was my first block of the week, so I'm 0-1 uh, now. Should you want to talk about one of your losses as well, Dr. Scaff? In your
sure. Maybe I'll just ask you real quick though about the Chiefs. So yeah, what's the final conclusion then? Are you worried about the Chiefs, or do you think week one doesn't matter? We'll see what happens in week two.
Well, I'm a little worried just because of the way the AFC West has gone. Every team in the AFC West won except for the Chiefs, and
Yeah,
now they're going to, like you said, they're going to play the Eagles, and they could finish. They could be 0-2 very easily, and looking up at a couple of 2-0 teams, so they could be 2 games down in the division very quickly. So I think if they beat the Eagles, I think all's right with the world, and it doesn't really matter. But if they lose to Philadelphia then maybe there is a little bit of, it's going to be a slog this season, and the Chiefs are going to, maybe still be a playoff team, but they're going to have, they might be an 11-6, 10-7 team rather than a 13-4 type team,
15-2 like last year.
or 15-2 like last year. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause if they do start 0-2, they'd have to win out,
hmm
just match last season's record.
And you worry about the home field advantage and things like that as well, especially with Buffalo beating Baltimore already. Um,
Hmm.
that wasn't one of the games we bet on.
Hmm.
Was an exciting game. Maybe I don't know, but also you kind of wonder where the defenses were in both of those teams. So maybe that could be potential problems for them later. I don't think the Chiefs would have given up 40, or maybe they probably wouldn't have scored 40 either against either of those two teams. But um, it's hard to say.
Yeah, yeah. Neither defense looked all that great, and there were some like very odd strategic choices in that one also with uh Baltimore, like not going for a fourth down, where the sort of modern teams tend to do that late in the game to try to like
Well, had it been against
hold the
the Chiefs,
ball.
they would have gone for fourth down because they always go for fourth down against the Chiefs. I don't know why they didn't go
Right.
Baltimore. I mean, against
But
Buffalo.
but there was one other scenario that I thought was interesting. A lot of the sports shows were talking about that play, but they're not talking about the play where they were up by 15 points and kicked a single, an extra point rather than going for two.
Yeah,
Because if they go for two
so they're up by
and
17.
they and they
Yeah.
and they basically made the game a three-score game rather than a two-score game. Already a difficult two-score game, but an even more difficult two-score game if they kick the extra point and make it, which they did
Mhm.
not, or go for two.
Yeah,
If you get it, yeah, the game is basically over with like 6 minutes to
yeah,
go,
I
and instead
think.
it turned into a loss. But
Yeah,
I just thought that was odd that the sports shows have been talking about the fourth down, going for a fourth down, but they haven't been
mhm.
keying in on that that extra point
Going
decision,
for
and that seemed
yeah,
to be like a much bigger, easier way to have won the game without having to do anything else.
yeah. The Chargers, I think, could have done the same thing. They were up 7 against the Chiefs at one point when they scored their touchdown, and had they gone for two, they would have been up 9 instead of being up 8,
Hmm.
which they ended up being at one point. So like, that would have been a better move, I think, as well. It's difficult to get 8 points, but it's you have to get 9, you gotta score twice.
You
Um,
have to have two scores.
and I guess, yeah, 17 is a much more valuable lead than 16. Even if you miss it in your head by 15, that's still pretty good. They still at least need one um, 2 point conversion to tie. And getting two, I guess, in a row is a little bit tougher, but getting two touchdowns and a field goal plus a 2 point conversion to win, uh,
Hmm.
that would be.
Well, and Buffalo had already gone for a 2 point conversion because they were chasing a
Mhm.
point before, and they had failed. So Baltimore, mentally has already defeated them on a 2 point conversion, so they should feel relatively confident creating the scenario where they're going to need two additional successful tries. But why even bother with that? Just convert your 2 point conversion and end the game effectively at that point.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
But no, I don't think anyone expected to see the Derrick Henry fumble though, right? That was the
Hmm.
probably the more surprising thing that happened in there. That wasn't what anybody would have thought would happen after the game he had already at that point.
No,
But
no, it was a big, big fumble. Um,
yeah. Anyway,
but how about your first your unlock of the week?
yeah, my first failed pick was a very, very narrow loss. I had Pittsburgh at -2.5 against the Jets, the two quarterbacks switching teams essentially for this matchup. Aaron Rodgers ended up coming up on top, but wasn't able to cover the spread. So the Steelers ended up winning by 2, but did not cover the 2.5 point spread. So
It
I
went
took that gave me a loss there.
34-32 uh, win for the Steelers were basically coming from behind most of that game. So
Yeah,
you're lucky to get the win. So you were, but the field, but they would have had to score a touchdown. They could only score a field goal on that last play, basically. So, um,
yeah,
yeah, it would seem like yeah, money line win would have was a good win there. But yeah, the agonizing loss of a half point really stings. Uh, I've got one of those half point losses myself in my as my second unlock of the week. Uh, and that was the New Orleans Arizona game where the New Orleans was 6.5 point underdogs, but Arizona won that game 20-13, winning by 7. So I was off by a half point. Had if only New Orleans had scored 14 points that game, it would have been a 19-13 or 2014. I would have won, but uh,
hmm
I didn't. I thought the Saints were going to lose that game because they don't have a good team, but. I also thought that I didn't trust Arizona being almost a touchdown favorite. So they ended up winning by exactly one touchdown. So the odds makers were really spot on those two games that we missed. I think so, we were that close, but still counts as a loss as our for our locks of the week. Uh, you had another loss in the locks, but it was this one wasn't as close.
it was not close at all. Yeah, I had Miami at +1.5, an underdog, but playing a team that I did not think looked very good on paper, the Indianapolis Colts, with Dan questionable quarterback as their number one, but Daniel Jones ended up playing pretty well. 22 29, 272 yards. That's not disappointing numbers at all. So Indy ended up winning 33-8.
Yeah.
So Miami did not even come in close to covering that spread. They didn't need to win, but can't lose by 25 points. That doesn't help. But yeah, Tua had a pretty awful game. So, and
Yeah,
it seems like there's already tension there. Tyreek Hill doesn't seem too happy. Um, yeah, it's looks like a pretty rough start to the year for Miami. Uh, I think, yeah, as Chiefs fans, I think we're probably in feeling much better about the Chiefs than Miami fans are feeling about the Dolphins right now.
yeah, and you wonder, how good is Indianapolis? Are they going to be good? Is Daniel Jones, was he just a victim of being in New York? Because Russell Wilson didn't look much better in New York than Daniel Jones had in his game against who did the Giants play? Against the Commanders.
Yeah.
They couldn't muster much offense, so maybe it's a
Mm.
Brian Dable issue in for the G-men. But yeah, Daniel Jones looked pretty good. I guess it looks like they picked the right quarterback instead of Anthony Richardson to start at least the first game. Jones had a very good performance, and yeah, they just blew out. It was I think the 8 points came in the fourth quarter. Even
It did.
it was a yeah, just a blowout from the beginning. So yeah, that was a miss. But yeah, it was a miss that I didn't see it coming either. I predicted that Miami was going to win that game. So, but maybe it's possible though. Miami might be really bad this year. Um, and you wonder there's rumors that I've seen is Miami looking to trade Tyreek Hill? And would Hill come back to Kansas City with because they're lacking some receiver quality right now. I don't know how the Chiefs could afford Hill. Put him in, it would be what I don't know where the salary cap would be, but um,
Unless there's a deal with it, Miami's like it's fire sale and they'll eat some of the salary just to get rid of him.
yeah, Chiefs
But
give up some draft picks. Um,
yeah, who knows? I mean, the possibility is always there, but yeah, I think it'd be pretty tough for them to get a player of that quality here.
yeah,
Yeah. Sounds
um,
great though. Let's do that, Mike.
yeah, get Hill back. Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah.
But short of that, I think the Chiefs still. I think they can. If they, as long as they slog together, I think a decent first 6 games without Rice, and I wouldn't be surprised if Worthy misses all the rest of those 6 games too. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses in the next few weeks. Uh,
Yeah.
you hope he doesn't miss as many games as Hollywood Brown missed last year with his shoulder clavicle kind of injury. Um,
Right.
'Cause he missed like the next first 14, 15 games of the season, it seemed like. Uh,
Yeah.
so,
A
the
lot of
shoulder.
that it depends on like how what his history is with that injury because it seems like yeah, if it's happened before, the recovery time is less
Mhm.
than if it's a first time injury because some of those muscles don't rebound very quickly unless they've already had that happen to them before.
Yeah.
So
And it's one of those things that Friendly Fire has injured both Rice and Worthy in the last year. Also, both against the Chargers. I don't know if that's some bad juju going on.
must be not Smith Schuster though.
Not Smith-Schuster. No, speaking
Yes.
of good juju, I did get one correct lock of the week, and this was the one, of course, of picking a team that neither of us are huge fans of because of their status as Chiefs divisional rivals. But the Las Vegas Raiders were 2.5 point underdogs against New England, and they won outright 20-13, winning by 7 points. So that was a fairly easy victory on my part, again, I was a little surprised why New England was favored. I think they maybe they thought Drake May was going to come through, but and Mike Vrabel was going to be really good on his first day. But I think Pete Carroll and Geno Smith have that history together, and
Hmm.
um, the Raiders have some good offense. Although Brock Bowers got hurt in the game, but Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, there's some good offensive weapons. Even Michael Meyer, the backup tight end, is pretty good for the Raiders. He was a high draft pick recently, so um, yeah, I think that was I called that one. I don't know if the Raiders are going to win a ton more games this year, but it seems like I thought they were clearly better than New England, especially they'd be prepared in week 1. So uh, going, and it wasn't, there's you don't have as much home field advantage in New England in week one as you do maybe in week 10 or week 15 when the weather starts to get colder and gets a little rainier and snowier and um, so yeah. Anyway, that was my at least saving my saving grace was that so finished 1 and 2, and you also finished 1 and 2, Dr. Scaff. So we at least avoided the sweep, each of us.
Right. And also picking a division rival of the Chiefs as the favorite, as a favorite this time though, because I picked the Denver Broncos minus 7.5 playing at home against Tennessee Titans, who I did not expect much from. But it was narrowly covered this spread though,
Another
yes.
half point
Half
game.
point. This time in my favor, as opposed to the half point that was not in my favor earlier in the locks of the week. So yeah, Denver ended up winning 20-12. Uh, yes, covering that 7.5 point spread by a whole half point.
Yeah, and that spread shifted as time went on to be 8.5 points in Denver's favor.
Yes.
And then in our regular picks, we used the later spreads, and so Denver won by 8. So they didn't. I picked Tennessee to cover the 8.5 in our regular picks, and I was correct on that one. That was one of the few spread picks that we got. We were each only 6 out of 16 on
Mm,
spread, but we ended up doing a little better on the money line and then on the over unders, which were and which I of course went the blanket under in my over unders and uh, ended up
played
cashing.
out beautifully for you this time.
Yeah, so that played. Yeah, I think I got 12 out of 16 unders. So I
Yeah.
ended up I ended up winning money on the week in our weekly game. I was up more than $400 or almost $400. I won
Just shy
380
of $400.
76, and you were just a couple hundred, 150 under about. So I was up, you were down. We only had a couple picks different too. So just that's the margin of victory versus losing is very very thin. So just as we've discussed, so that's why usually there aren't that many good professional football gamblers. Probably most people end up losing money in these games, but in the long run.
Well, it's also not great to bet on every single game on all three types of picks that we make. So this
Yeah,
is this is not the ideal way to compare to
and
other gamblers who
well, week
are
one as
cherry
well
picking.
as yeah,
Yeah,
week one as well is probably notoriously unpredictable too. So it's double um doubly risky, I think, to do all that. But it turned out well for
absolutely.
me. If I had bet every game $100, I would be up, yeah, $386.76.
But if you just bet uh on the over under, just did your blanket under, if you did that,
Yeah,
yeah, you would have won
nearly
75% of your bets, which is more than enough to break even, and
I would have
even
won $700 on my
on $1,600 outlay. So that's
yeah.
a pretty good payout. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a 43% return on one weekend. That's pretty good. A lot better than a bank account, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, I'll try.
Annualize that return, and
Yeah, if I can get 43% every week, yeah, I would do that. But unlike that's going to be unlikely, and
yeah,
I'll try not to lose 43% next week.
exactly. Just to even out. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
now we'll get to that later in the show where we'll talk about our picks for next week, though. So yeah, we'll get to see if you are going to continue with the blanket under, or if now you're going to flip and go blanket over for week two, just because you think maybe that was a week one thing, and that week two it's going to go the other way,
I'm going to stay blanket under.
or maybe not.
I'm going to stay blanket under. Spoiler alert. I'm going to keep the blanket under because I think in general unders win. Um, I think they win about 53% of the time.
No.
Um, or they win more often than because the public usually bets the over, uh, and uh,
Yeah.
so
Well, it's only been 18 consecutive blanket unders for you though, Mike. I don't. I was waiting. You'll be tricking our viewers one of these days to flip your picks and go the other way. Yeah, because this is into your second season of this method. You're doing okay with it though,
Hmm.
especially after a week like this.
Week like this, I look pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
not too bad.
Not too shabby. But speaking of shabby, the Royals play has been rather shabby this last week. They came very, very close to becoming one of the wild card teams, only down one game at one point. However, they've lost three in a row to the Cleveland Guardians, who are now, I think, a game and a half or two games ahead of the Royals in the wild card chase. The Royals are now 3.5 games out, at least as of the last time I looked. They might be 4 games out. Uh,
And they lost. Well, they've lost three in a row. The last loss of the Twin series was the first loss. That was just the first two games of this
they
Cleveland
lost the
series.
first 2 games.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
but
Royals.
two losses to Cleveland then has given them a direct couple of games on the Royals. So
Mhm.
they've passed the Royals now in the wild card race.
Yeah, the Royals are down to 73 and 72. So essentially, um,
So they're a game and a half behind Cleveland now,
3.8% chance of making the playoffs now, according to ESPN.
which is down another 2% from yesterday, I think. So their chances are becoming slim quickly,
Yes.
and they are three and a half back of the Mariners now. Mariners who are up 3-2, only in the fourth inning though, against
Okay.
the Cardinals. So they could be only three back still, or they could be four back by the end of the day on this Tuesday night as we're recording this.
Yeah, the Royals have had some bad injury luck. Bobby Witt had back spasms. He's missed the last couple of games. He played today, but I mean the Royals didn't score any runs today, so it didn't really matter. Um, yeah, it was just a in the pitching. Yeah, the Royals got blown out in the first game against Cleveland, 10-2, and they didn't score any runs. They got shut out today. So hopefully, they think the Royals can at least salvage game 3. Um, and you put a little winning. They'll need to put a pretty good winning streak together. They'll probably have to go. They have 75, 100, and they played 155 games. They have 17 games left. So they'll probably have to go something like 13 and 4 probably in those games to have a real shot. Uh, I think at the third wild card spot. What would you say? They need 86 wins, you think?
Yeah, it's probably going to be somewhere in there, but that's assuming that they can leapfrog two teams that are ahead of them before they even get to the wild card spot. So there's a lot that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, they do have uh, two more games against the Guardians in this series.
I think they
So
could salvage a
they could still end the
tie
split. But then they have another tough series on the road at Philly for the weekend, which is probably not a great matchup for them right now. And then the big series when they get back to KC
against the
is
Mariners.
against Seattle. So that they can make up ground really easily on Seattle, but it is really important for them to win probably both of these last two games against Cleveland. The other unfortunate thing is they've already lost the series against Cleveland, the season series.
Hmm.
So if they do end up tied with Cleveland, they will not win
Yeah.
the tiebreaker. We
Yeah.
already know they're in that situation. So they,
Unlike
they
with the
need to be a full
Rangers,
game ahead of Cleveland.
they would win the tiebreaker against the Rangers, who are ahead of
Yes.
Cleveland as well. But yeah, the Royals they probably need to win 4 out of their last 5, 4 out of the next 5 to really be in the hunt. Um, so they win 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia, win the next 2 games against Cleveland, win 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia, and then by
Yeah.
the Seattle series rolls around, maybe they can, you know, parlay that into anyway. But yeah, they really need to get hot pretty fast, I think. Uh,
They have, I believe Reagan's is maybe close to coming back. It seemed like he had a rehab start that went pretty well. As long as he's still feeling well, a day or two after that rehab start in Omaha, then it's likely that he'll be back. But I think Waka just hit the injured list, so they can't seem to get everybody healthy at the same time. But still a couple weeks left, so maybe these guys come back together. I'm not holding my breath though right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens next week. We'll see, if the Royals go on a tear, maybe they can pull into the mix again. But yeah, this last week has not been very good for them. Um,
Through Saturday, it didn't look so bad. Like you're like, oh, they're right there, and then it
yeah,
only takes a couple of games when it's this close. This
yeah.
getting to this point in the season.
Especially when you're losing to the teams that are around you and getting you know, leapfrogged by those teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you look at the wild card standings, uh, the teams in front of the Royals, like the ones that matter, have all won multiple games in a row. The Mariners have won three in a row. The Rangers have won two in a row. The Guardians have won five in a row. And then the Royals have lost three in a row. So that's basically been why the Royals are now no longer only a game out of it or close to it. They're three and a half with multiple teams ahead of them now. So 73 and 72. Uh, so we'll see what happens. They're still in range of also of getting the series the season over, which I believe was 82 and a half was the
Yeah, I believe that's right.
yeah,
82 and a half, yes.
82 and a half.
So they're like right on that
Uh-huh.
fringe right there. Yes.
And we'll see what happens.
Right.
Uh the Royals. And we'll see what happens with the rest of our I think are my guardian or what was the over under for the White Sox?
It was 54 and a half.
The White Sox are also over now. They won the 55th game. Uh uh yesterday.
So
So
you've got one in the bag.
one in the bag, two in the bag, because I think
Actually, two, because Atlanta, I think, right?
Atlanta is out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
So
down to your Pittsburgh and Kansas City
mhm.
picks.
In Pittsburgh, what was Pittsburgh?
You'd be over at 75 and a half.
Ooh, that's not going to happen probably. They'll have to go on a tear. Uh, they'll have to be
Or they
12
need
and
they
5.
need they need 12 wins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were looking like they might get close, but then they've lost the last four, so that's really put them down. Uh, so that probably won't happen, but it's possible to go three. 3 and 1 is a distinct possibility right now
Yeah.
on my over unders. Um, Worst I
Yeah.
can do worst I can do is 2-2. So that's
Yeah.
that's not
That's not bad. That's pretty good. For a season over under number,
yeah.
win totals, that's not bad. Not bad.
Still loses a little bit of money if you're two and two because of
Right. I
uh
think.
the yeah. But speaking of
Not the vig.
the
Ugh,
juice, the
the
pig,
juice.
whatever you want to call it,
Yes.
yeah. um, shall we move on to more to week two of the NFL season? So
Sure.
we'll uh, want to let's give our preview. We have the Chiefs Eagles. We want to talk about the Chiefs Eagles first before we get into our picks.
Not really, but I think we need to though, right?
Yeah.
I think
So it's back.
we're both a little bit worried about it, I think.
I think so. It's back at Arrowhead. Uh, the Chiefs can beat the Eagles. I think they got blown out in the Super Bowl, but they have beaten the Eagles recently. They beat them in the Super Bowl 2 years before that. They did lose a mo notable regular season game 2 years ago to the Eagles on that dropped Marquez Valdez Scantling pass that would have won the game for the Chiefs, but
Yes.
dropped it. Uh, and the Chiefs ended up losing that game, and that was uh, the season of many, many drops for the wide receivers. That 20 in the 2023 season, even though the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl, but they still had not a great offense that year.
Yeah.
That was the first Matt Nagy year. Again, the Matt Nagy 2.0 season. So then last year, of course, second Matt Nagy year. The third Matt Nagy year is not necessarily looking any better from an offensive standpoint, but we'll see. We'll
Started
see.
off just like the other two Matt Nagy.
Mhm.
Yeah, but just by looking at the offense.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. Um, yeah, the Eagles have everybody. It seems like they have everybody healthy. They won their first game against Dallas. Not a huge win against a team that's not that great probably this year, Dallas, but coming off a win. Saquon is back. They still have their Jalen Hurts at quarterback. He's looking good. Um, AJ Brown, of course. And their defense is looking strong. And there's and it doesn't look like Jalen Carter is going to get suspended for his spit take Dak Prescott, um, where he wasn't. Did you think that? Oh, going back to the Chiefs game the first week, do you think that?
I was going to ask you about this. What I think you're about to ask me.
Do you
Go
think that
ahead.
the Chargers player, what was his name?
Uh, Trip. No, that's not quite right.
Uh, Tyre Tart.
Heart.
Tart. Yes.
It's a trip. Heart. Yes.
Tyre Tart. Do you think Tyre Tart should have been ejected for his uh, punch? It wasn't a punch, I guess. It was seen as a slap or some sort of
An
open-handed hit,
open-handed. Yes.
which I guess is was less egregious than a closed fist. It also probably would
But
have. Yeah.
not nearly as egregious as spit. That's
Yeah.
that's where I have issue with the league, not necessarily with the way the rule is, but the way the league has this like vast inconsistency from game to game about how what is considered bad or not bad. Any individual game could be something very different. And when you see these in the first two games of the season, and you see someone getting ejected for spitting on someone and another one, hitting someone in the helmet after the play was over, after there was already a scuffle, and then a penalty, but not an ejection. I don't like how this works out. Like the league, I think, needs to make sure that they have consistency in how their games are officiated, and that's why I don't like the way the league handles most of these things because you can't look at that and say that these two things are equivalent or in the same order of magnitude you know uh in offense, right?
Yeah.
So you'd say like, because the other one happened first, the spitting incident happened on the Thursday game, and then on Friday game you see something that looks worse than what the first thing happened, but then there's no ejection. It doesn't make any sense to me, and for me it questions the integrity of the sport and the league specifically because there's such very different officiating rules between different games, especially on ones that you like everyone is watching. It's not just, if there's 10 games in a slate and they're all on at the same time, some play that gets, like this could happen and you don't necessarily see it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but everybody sees these games because they're the only game on that day. They have to be officiated the same the same way. So I can't justify that mentally for how the league handles it. Do you have that same issue, or do you not worry
I
about it
don't
as much?
know. I think the problem was that Tart had some big plays that he batted down a couple of passes later in the game. And then if he had not been there, maybe the Chiefs could have won that game. So his being on the field, I think he didn't have an impact really before the slap, but he did have a big impact after whatever happened. So it turned out to be unlucky for the Chiefs at the least. I don't know if he should have
Yeah.
been ejected or not, but um, if because it turned out the Carter situation there was spit, but it turned out that was a little bit more of a gray area because it looked like maybe Prescott spit in Carter's direction first, maybe not intending to get Carter, but there was a little bit. It was more of a retaliation rather than an instigation. on Carter's part, perhaps. But usually spitting is seen as pretty bad, so especially on an opponent. So you would say that, why wasn't there a, possible, again, he's not being suspended for the Chiefs game. So again, whenever it happens against the Chiefs or affects the potential of the Chiefs, it seems like everybody gets the benefit of the doubt and they're allowed to play the game or continue the game. Uh, if it happened
Well,
against the
that's all
Bills,
nonsense.
if it happens, if the Eagles were going to play the Bills next, Carter would be suspended, and if it had the and if Tart had hit I don't know, Dalton Kincaid, whoever the tight end now is
Yes, right.
for the Bills, he also would have been ejected from the game.
Probably gotten the multi-game suspension
Because it
afterwards too,
seems like the
something like
Bills, I
that.
don't know why the NFL seems to like always, I don't know if they really are trying to treat the Bills better, but it seems like the Bills, when they whine, they get preferential treatment over any other team consistently, and the Chiefs, when they whine, they don't seem to get that, even though I think the general fan population thinks that the Chiefs are always in the refs, they have the refs in their pockets, but I don't think
I don't think
watching
it's true either.
really
Yeah.
bears out. And I don't think the NFL intends to give the Bills what they want all the time, but it seems like it always happens
Well, I
that
don't
way.
know if I think it is intentional, but why, I don't know. But it does seem like it's intentional. But yes, everything that the sort of um, not necessarily informed NFL fan thinks the Chiefs get and benefit, it's actually the Bills that really are getting those things. So that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and the Chiefs play the Eagles, the Bills play the
yeah.
Jets at New York, so we'll see what happens in that game. I don't think either. Did you make a bet on the Bills Jets game?
No.
No. The
Oh,
bet.
no, not on the Bills, but we can start there. I did have a bet in the game. If you
Okay,
want
that's what I was
to,
thinking. There was a bet that was involved in that game.
yes, I did. I'm not betting on. I don't. I like we just were talking about. I'm not a fan of the Bills. I don't like the way the league seems to treat to favor the Bills. I don't like betting on or against necessarily the Bills themselves. But I do think that their matchup with the Jets has the potential for being a high scoring game. Because the Jets looked okay on offense in their first game against Pittsburgh, putting up 32 points. Buffalo ended up winning with a huge score against Baltimore. So it seems like those two teams are offensively minded, maybe not so good defensively. That looks like a high scoring game to me. So I have Buffalo, New York Jets over at 45 and a half points for my first pick of the week. Mike?
45.5 is not a high number, but I think I'll also go under with it because of my blanket under
Yeah.
philosophy. But I don't think that's a bad bet. I'm just I'm my over under is mostly going by volume at this
Right.
point, and I think that the aggregate is going to be under again this week. I am also let me make my I'll make my first uh, bet of the week, and that's also an over under bet, and this is the what seems to be one of the worst games of the year, even though these it's maybe one of the worst matchups of undefeated teams uh, in league history, where we have the the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Neither team looked, well, neither team probably looks that great so far. The Bengals had trouble beating the hapless Browns in Cincinnati in Cleveland. But Jacksonville did win. Jacksonville won, but also not with a whole lot of flair or gusto against the Panthers over the weekend. So this is Jacksonville at Cincinnati. And that over under is 49 and a half. Uh, and that seems to be pretty high to me. So I'm going to go under 49 and a half with the Jaguars and Bengals. If you looking at last week, uh, yeah, the Jacksonville scored 26 points against Carolina, and Cincinnati scored 17 points against Cleveland. So if you add their scores, they only scored 43 points combined. So I think 49 and a half combined is pretty high. I think I would say I would say Jacksonville will be lucky to get two touchdowns, and I don't
Mhm.
and um, I'm not sure. Yeah, again, I don't think Cleveland's defense is that great, but I think they're probably better than. I mean, Cincinnati's defense is that great, but I think they're probably better than Carolina um, in most aspects of the game. It's going to be at Cincinnati, and
Yeah. Well, you probably think that Jacksonville's defense is better than Carolina's defense.
yes,
So Pittsburgh will have, or Cincinnati may have difficulty scoring against
yeah, better than Cleveland. Well, probably better than
Jacksonville.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know
then,
if they're
but
better than
Jacksonville
Cleveland.
had put up a fair number of points against a weaker team than probably Cincinnati's defense has too, right, in Carolina. So,
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah,
yeah,
I so it would need to be again fairly high. I think that's one of the higher scoring over unders of the weekend. Maybe the high. Oh, it's second highest. It looks
oh, was
like.
there one higher than that?
No, actually, it was the highest. It was the highest. I thought there was.
Oh no, there is a. Oh no, that's week one. Yeah, yeah, that's the highest.
It is the highest. Yeah, the Washington Green Bay game, I think, had it not been Thursday night, might have been higher. Even Thursday night games are notoriously low scoring. I think sometimes, at least for one team, they're low scoring. But if I had to pick a game that would go over, I might pick that Green Bay Washington game on Thursday night, which is one of the best games of the weekend. Unfortunately, it's on Thursday night. Um, I guess in terms of quality of play, usually Thursday night games are not as high quality because there's less rest for the teams and they're a little more unpredictable that way too. So, but anyway, so my first lock of the week is Jacksonville at Cincinnati under 49 and a half. How about your next lock of the week, Dr. Scaff?
I'm going to go with a couple of teams that are maybe struggling a little bit right now. So I think I'm gonna join you on an under this time. I think you're going to agree with me here. But San Francisco is dealing with a couple of injuries. Kittle seems to be like he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Been placed on the injured reserve already. And Brock Purdy may not be starting for the 49ers either. We don't know for sure at this point,
Might
anyway.
be McCorkle, Michael McCorkle, Mac Jones might be the starting quarterback for
That's right.
49ers.
And I don't like San Francisco's chances to score a lot of points without Kittle and with Michael McCorkle, Mac Jones as the QB over Purdy because they are facing the New Orleans Saints, who seem to be potentially tanking the season based on what they put the way they built their roster this way, right? According to our early analysis from this Morning Track Power Hour show. Their over under is a little bit low for the game though, at only 42 and a half, but I still don't think they're going to get it that close to it. So I'm going to take the under San Francisco New Orleans 42 and a half.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under as well. I would go under on that one because I'm going under on all of them. So, but
Yes.
I don't think New Orleans is gonna score a ton of points either. So I would say I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 20 to 14 game, something like that, 20 to 13, just like the Cardinals Saints game. So that would be comfortably under.
I think the 49ers had some difficulty scoring in the first game with Purdy, but they only managed 17 points against Seattle, who's a pretty decent team, probably better than the Saints are at this point, but in this year. I just don't see them scoring a whole lot of points, even against a not so great Saints team. Yeah. I don't know about comfortably under Mike, but I think it's going to be under.
Under. Well, I don't know if I'll comfortably win any of my next couple of bets, but I'm going back to the Pittsburgh Steelers well, the one that you thought maybe I would go to last week, but you decided to take and we lost by half a point. Pittsburgh was favored by 2.5 at the Jets. They're also favored by 2.5 at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Uh, and uh, I think the Steelers defense will probably play better than it did against the Jets in the second game. They're also going to be at home. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers will score enough points to win that game. And if they win, they'll probably win by more than 2.5 points. I think they'll win by a field goal at least. So I think they'll win that game, and I think they'll win. Uh, I would say by about a touchdown was what I would predict Pittsburgh to beat Seattle by at home. Um, so, uh, well, I'm picking Pittsburgh minus 2.5 against Seattle as my second lock of the week.
I guess that leaves me with my third and final pick for the week. Uh, I'm looking at a division rival game for my third pick. Uh, not a big fan of either of these teams, but I think Dallas and the New York Giants game is going to go Dallas's way. I think the first game for Giants didn't look so great with Russell Wilson at QB. I think there's going to be more calls for Jackson Dart to take over as the starting quarterback rather than Russell Wilson staking his claim to it. It seems like it's a little questionable already. Like I think the Giants waited a day to officially say that Russell Wilson will be the week 2 starter. I don't expect that game to go all that well for the Giants. I don't think Dallas is all that great either, but I think the Giants are probably looking at a rough, at least start to the year until they figure out what they're going to do at QB. I think it's probably going to end up being Dart. It's going to be taking the job at some point sooner rather than later would be my guess. But a game like this seems like one that's going to like add to the call to the change rather than quiet that call. So I've got Dallas at -5.5 at
Okay.
home against the Giants for my third pick.
Okay. I think that's interesting. That's a good possibility. Divisional games you never quite know, but it seems like Dallas played a little better against the Eagles than we most likely thought they would play.
Mhm.
Uh, and that
Yeah,
was
that
a
game was close. I did think it was
yeah.
gonna be close.
And the Giants didn't look pretty helpless on offense with Russell Wilson. Do you think that Brian Dable will be gone before or after Jackson Dart starts at quarterback?
I think
Dable has a chance to, yeah,
yeah, he'll survive long enough to see what Dart does. But yeah, I mean, because eventually there will be a loud enough call to have Dart start, and then depending on how that goes, will probably be which way Dable's career goes. So if Dart does well, Dable may be there for a while. If it doesn't go well, then Dable may not make it through the season.
yeah.
That'd be my guess at least.
I think Dable at some point will try to see the writing on the wall and start Dart no matter what happens if they're losing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think if they lose their first two, I would say if they're 0 and 4, I think Dart gets the start.
yeah. It may not even take that long, honestly. Even if they lose a close game, I don't know. I could see that just because the Giants fans, the New York populace as a whole is they can be very loud and very influential. I think over like how the team plays. It doesn't seem like it's very often when there it's like a week 1 to week 2 matchup where your entrenched starter is being questioned as to whether or not he should be starting only in the second week of the season. That's uh that's very early.
Yes,
But I don't know if it happens in other places, but New York, they will be very loud, very passionate fan base. Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah.
Speaking
How about
of
yeah, what you're
Speaking of passionate fan bases, my final game probably has two of the least passionate fan bases of any team in the league, at least home fan bases. The Raiders have passionate fans, but they are not located in Las Vegas for the most part. I believe they're still in Oakland and maybe even Los Angeles. I would say the Raiders are probably at least the second most popular team in Los Angeles, still probably more than the Chargers are.
maybe
But
number one?
maybe over the Rams even. I don't know. I wouldn't
It's
be
possible they're number one, actually. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Um the Raiders
Actually,
are.
it would be fairly likely that there's in the LA area. Because the 49ers for sure would have the
Mhm.
most entrenched fans, I would guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would.
But
Well,
they've had stability being in San Francisco for quite
in
some
the
time.
yeah, they're probably the well, yeah, the Bay Area. It's the more populated side of the Bay Area to the 49ers than the Oakland side, but
Yeah. Well, and the other teams have moved around
yeah,
more than once in the history of their franchise. So that makes it tough. Yeah, because the Rams have been uh, in St. Louis, and then you know only there relatively one generation ago, right?
yeah.
Of fans, of local fans.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But they're playing in Las Vegas, where they
Yes.
don't really have a lot. Where Las Vegas is sort of a neutral site game, just like when the Chargers. We talked a little bit about the Chargers playing at home and why they maybe wanted to go to Brazil. It's still they don't lose a home game like they might against the Chiefs, where the Chiefs would fill up SoFi Stadium at least as much as the Chargers fans would. Um, but yeah, I think so. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the Raiders against the Chargers, even either place they play is probably more of a neutral site uh, game, and it might even be a reverse
Yeah.
home field advantage because probably a lot of Chargers fans would come up from California to go to Vegas, and a lot of local Raiders fans would probably come out of the woodwork to watch the game in LA. Um, so it's the Chargers are 3-point favorites over the Raiders in Las Vegas. Both the teams are 1-0 coming off big victories in week one. The Chargers have had a couple more days off to prepare. It's not a long road trip at all. It's only a few hours by uh, car, bus, train, whatever. And maybe they'll fly. But
Yes.
I like the Chargers to win that game. I think they're a pretty good team. I think they'll have a good start, and so I think I can't see the Raiders being 2-0 and the Chiefs being 0-2. That would be very unlikely scenario, I think, especially at the beginning of the season. But it's a distinct possibility right now. But I still think the Raiders probably aren't as good a team as the Chargers are at this point. So I would pick the Chargers to win that game and to win by more than three. So that's my third lock of the week is the Chargers -3 at the Raiders.
Do you like it just a little bit less because it's exactly three, not 2.5?
If we're 2.5, that would be an easy pick. 3.5, I don't know what I'd do with a 3.5 Chargers.
Yeah.
I still might pick them, but it would give me more. It would certainly give me pause. Um, yeah, the three.
Second week in a row, you're taking a field goal difference too. Like you're are you playing for the push potential? Is that part of your strategy this year? Like 'cause we are tied after 1 week. Are you?
Am
Is
I
this
taking?
is this is this one of the things that's going through your mind as you're making your picks, playing for the push?
No, I'm sure if I played for the push, I would lose by that half game rather than win by a half game against you. So I try to avoid the push. I want to win outright, but um, most likely it will not. Well, who knows?
But we
Um,
we don't set the odds though. I mean, we're going off of FanDuel Sportsbook's odds. So uh, yeah, we don't pick these odds. We're stuck with what we have available to us at the time that we make these picks.
yes,
Yeah.
we are.
No.
We're
Hmm.
stuck
Hmm.
with what
Hmm.
was with what's given to us uh, by the pros in Vegas, the boys in the desert, as they call them,
Yes.
as Brent Musburger referred to them as many times.
Nice.
Um,
Any other games in week two? that you're definitely tuning into, or any game that you're definitely avoiding this week?
Well, we mentioned the Thursday night game, so I'll be watching that one probably. I'll be watching it in Baltimore. I'm actually traveling to Baltimore for some work training. Astute viewers might remember I was in Baltimore earlier this year for work training a couple weeks in a row that we had me live from Baltimore, Maryland, giving the Warren Check Power Hour. So I'll be Baltimore again this weekend, but no Power Hour will be broadcast from Baltimore. But I will probably watch um, that game on Amazon Prime, uh, assuming I can get it in the. I'll probably have to watch it on my laptop. Um,
No.
but yeah, I'll try to watch that game. The Packers at home against the Commanders. That would be a game I'd want to watch. Um, any other? I'm looking at my games I wouldn't watch.
Well, you said
Jacksonville.
you'll be in Baltimore, though. Are you interested in betting on an 11.5 point spread, but the Ravens have at home against the Cleveland Browns, Mike?
If I went one way, I would go with the Ravens. I'm sure they're angry after their loss, and I don't think the
Yeah,
Browns are very good. So I'd say it's a two touchdown game for the Ravens. So maybe I would go with the. That would be a game I would not want to watch. There's a lot of games
yeah.
I think seem like very good games this weekend. Um,
I'm going to
that
guess you're going to say the game you're not interested in is the Carolina at Arizona. That doesn't seem
yeah,
like a Mike game.
no, that's not going to be a great game. Although it does pit the two pocket passers against one another. Bryce Young against Kyler Murray, the two shortest quarterbacks in the league,
Yes,
going
not the pocket as in the statuesque standing
in
in
the
the
pocket.
pocket.
No, the
Good
pocket
players.
sized players. If I weren't making a bet on Jacksonville, Cincinnati, that would be another game I wouldn't really care for. Uh,
Mhm.
but Cincinnati at least has some excitement, but they didn't have any excitement. Jamar Chase had like one catch against the Browns last week, or maybe two catches, something like that. He was on
Yeah.
one of my fantasy teams and had basically 0 points for me. He was the number one overall pick for me. I actually had the number one, and I got basically no points out of it. We don't talk much about fantasy on this broadcast, but
Mm.
right, and probably rightfully so. But uh, yeah, none of the games are great matchups. Other than I think the Eagles, Chiefs, and Washington, Green Bay. Those are the by far the two best games. The rest of them are a little bit maybe you have one good team, one not so good team, or somehow teams that are underperforming. Um, maybe Seattle, Pittsburgh might be an interesting game if I weren't betting on it even, but um,
Mhm.
Seattle lost already. Who knows how good they are. Again, who knows how good Pittsburgh really is either. It looks like maybe some of these teams, if we go 5 or 6 weeks ahead of time, we'll see. Oh, that was a good matchup because those are two good teams right now. But it's hard to tell if a 1-0 team is actually any good or if an 0-1 team is actually bad at this point. At least in the most part, you probably know that Cleveland's going to be bad and Tennessee's probably not going to be good. But like Miami, we don't know if they're going to be a good team or a terrible team. They're playing New England at home. New England lost at home to the Raiders, so maybe that is the worst matchup of the week so far. Two 0-1 teams. Um,
At least
that
based on week one performances, that's not something that you'd want to
yeah,
watch, probably.
yeah, putting the week in week one.
Yes. Ooh. Nice. Yeah, from like the betting perspective, it kind of is a really unfortunate week because like everything that we thought we could learn, glean from what we saw in week one, like teams that played really well, almost everyone that like looked really dominant in week one have either a really tough opponent in week two, or the teams that look really bad in week one actually have like a weaker opponent in week two. So it's like there's nothing that's like that pitting of a team that dominated week one with a team that looked terrible in week one against each other in week two. So like you're like oh, I know I'm going to bet on this because of what I saw last week. There's like none of that for this week.
Yeah, and it's hard to
So it's
predict.
it's kind of unfortunate.
It's hard to also predict if one week's going to carry over. It's week one, so
True.
week two is only slightly more predictable than week one. I think it gets a little
Yeah.
more predictable as the season goes on. Once you get to week five and six, maybe you know who the teams are, but in this early
Yeah.
going, it's hard to it's still hard. It's not maybe as hard as week one, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Last year it seemed like I got better at my locks of the week as the season went on. And I think but Dr. Scaff, I believe, had the opposite effect. So I'm not yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to say, even what we think is predictable is not always predictable. So that's the perils of betting. So we would recommend that people not bet on all these NFL games unless they're really, really sure, because they're probably going to lose money, because those guys in Vegas know more than we know, uh, or you know.
And our history with this is, yeah, spotty at best, I think. I think we've gotten
Yeah, we're
a little tighter, I think, in how we make our decisions, but it still doesn't necessarily play out in a way where like we don't see our winnings skyrocketing in like our third, fourth year doing this. It's kind of up and down, week to week, year to year even. It's not there's not like a clear trend in how we have performed. I think maybe you've gotten a little better, but then the end of last year for me was bad. So I don't, yeah, whatever trend it looked like I had is completely erased at this point. So I
yeah,
don't. It doesn't seem like there's uh, a learning curve where you see like an overlaying uh results trend that falls in
yeah.
with that. So it's yeah. I don't think we're going to see that, Mike. I think it's going to be more random than anything else.
Yeah, you want to, I guess we want that randomness to at least average out to being a little bit better than 500, so you
Yeah.
can make a little bit of money. But you need about 54% of the bets usually to make any money. But then also it's complicated with the over-unders. So those sometimes are unpredictable. And even if you pick a lot of the wins, you pick the if you don't pick the upset, or if you do pick the upset, that can really swing things one way or the other. So
Well, in the money line is where you really have difficulty like making up money in just in picking your 54%. You really need, if you're picking mostly favorites, you need a lot more than
yeah, you
that
need
to end up
about
being
70% probably to win money or something.
unless you're picking upsets, and then you don't need nearly as many if as long as you're successful. So
As long as you're
uh,
successful. Yeah, you got to be successful though.
yeah. So I mean, like this week, you could make a fair amount of money on the money line specifically if you choose Cleveland to outright beat Baltimore, right? But plus 530, you could, basically decide if you're going to be, a winner or a loser for the week if you get that bet. Are you willing to do that this week? Or are you going to be going with Baltimore on the money line at minus 750?
I think I'll go Baltimore on the money line. If
Yeah.
Baltimore ends up losing this game, that would be a huge story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I wouldn't see that. It would have to probably involve some sort of Lamar Jackson injury early on, maybe sacked by Myles Garrett, and then uh,
But even with that, I mean, you think that offense is still
still
fairly
pretty good.
potent.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
With
they because they actually have like, Derrick Henry. They can still be a primary running team and
mhm.
do pretty well. I mean, they were creating enormous holes for Derrick Henry
Yeah,
against Buffalo, who was supposed to have a fairly decent defense, not the defense that like gives up huge chunks of yards every running play. That's not what you expect.
no.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
shall we wrap up this week's episode of the Morning Trek Power Hour, Dr. Scaff? I
sure.
think we will be back next week and talk more about week two. We'll have week two in review and week three preview next week. We'll also talk a little bit more about the Royals. Hopefully, they will have begun a little bit of a hot streak to try to get back in contention in the wild card race. We'll also talk about whatever else strikes our fancy next week. If something else happens in the world of sports or elsewhere, we might discuss that as well. But uh, yeah, well, but I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I've become tongue-tied. I don't know what I want to do. How will I segue into our normal patter at the end? But as always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Morning Track Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is available, of course, on YouTube, and or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms, including the one you use. So we'll see you next time, um, uh, one way or another, or you will hear us next time. We appreciate your viewership, your listenership, and your supportership, if that's a word, uh, Dr. Scaff. And we also wish you best of luck this weekend if you are making bets of your own, as long as your interests do not conflict with ours. Until next time, as always, we'll wish you a good day.